Hey, Natsu here. Today I'm going to do part 1 of What If Deku had both his parents' quirk. No, part 2. I did part 1 the other day. So, from what I asked on Discord since nobody answered in the comment section. And yes, they want him to get one for all. So, Deku arrives and goes through, under the bridge. So he passed through the tunnel, and suddenly, well, the sludge villain attack him, saying that he needs his body. He's coming. Well, not with that tone of voice, but hey kid, I need your body to hide. He's coming and I need to hide. So, what does Deku do? Well, he defends himself. The sludge villain arrives close to him, tries to get into Deku's mouth, and a burst of fire. A pretty good one at that. The sludge villain gets back because it harms him, and then just before the sludge villain says, "Ha, not close enough," well, the fire basically just kind of moves around him and starts to burn him. Suddenly, not long after, All Might arrives. The sludge villain basically hears him say, "I am here," and basically just thinks, "I'm done," which he is. All Might basically just sees the sludge villain kind of being burnt, while the kid is basically just kind of using his hand to push fire on him. And he basically says, "Be careful," and then starts pulling his arm back. Deku sees that and basically basically gets to the wall and just kind of grabs on anything he can. Until All Might says, Texas smash! Wait, no, it wasn't Texas. It was, I don't remember which one it was. But yeah, basically he does his smash. The sludge villain is splattered all around. And All Might thinks that this kid's quirk is pretty good. And decides to ask him what it is. Because you're able to control fire. Which Deku basically explains to him that he can control heat and fire as long as he is able to move, well, at least one finger he can control it. The bigger the movements are, the more he needs his hand to do it. So like small movements or just kind of makes fire and heat go around him. He just needs a finger to basically move it. But control like he was doing, basically a huge amount of fire. He actually needs his hand to do it. And then All Might ask him where the fire came from, which Deku basically just said, "Oh, that's from my fire breath." Which All Might was impressed because, "Oh, so you have two quirks." Which Deku explained that his mom had a telekinesis quirk that allowed her to bring objects to her, while his dad has a fire breathing quirk. So All Might basically got that, okay, so both quirks were combined into him. He asked Deku how much did he train, and Deku said that physically and with his quirk he trained about every day, just to kind of be able to control it or fight if anything were to happen. So All Might thought of him as a good choice for One for All. One for All basically, All Might explains One for All to Deku, basically telling him, well, no. He asked Deku if he would like to be the next #1 hero, which Izuku answers yes, and then All Might says, I can help you with that. What would you think of if I gave you my quirk? Which Deku basically just kind of accepted, and then after accepting was basically like, wait, give me your quirk? That doesn't make sense. Quirk don't work like that. And then All Might explained to him one for all how it can be passed down. And Deku basically accepted it once again, which All Might told him, okay, then there is this beach, Dagaba Beach. We will go train there every day. Can you make it there tomorrow? Which Deku says yes. And so the training starts. The first day, All Might sees that, yeah, Deku is kind of trained correctly. He has, a pretty good amount of strength, since just over his entire life, he basically trained to have kind of enough strength. And like I said in my previous video, I think I said precisely that he has almost the same amount of strength as what Deku had after the 10 months of training. But instead of him having it rushed, he basically did it over time. So he can train more this time. At the start of the series, if he were to actually know how to control One for All, he would have been able to control it to about 5% without breaking his bones. About the same way. Like, I don't mean all in one hand with 5%, that would probably break it, but more like he does right now, which is over his entire body, which he learned to do in this one, because All Might basically saw him do it for like a day. He was able to move pretty much a lot of things around. And then All Might told him, okay, I'm going to give you my quirk now. Which Deku said, but I thought you wanted me to train before that. Which All Might said, yes, but I think you would be ready to actually take it without breaking your body. And not the way that there is no damage, but really like, what Deku does right now. So All Might basically gives him the strand of hair, Deku eats it, then All Might tells him that it's going to take a small amount of time for him to digest the hair, and then get the quirk. So he told him that the next day they would try it. But for now, to continue training. So Deku finished moving stuff around for the day. He didn't clean everything, far from that, don't worry. So after that, the next day, Deku came back. Let's just say it was weekend. And Deku basically, All Might told Deku to basically stress his arm, like just kind of stress your muscle, which started charging One for All. And before Deku launched a punch, All Might told him that if he used too much power, he might break his bones, which Deku basically just realized that it hurted a lot while he was using it, and that his body was already on the verge of breaking, so he stopped. All Might asked him how how it felt, and Deku told him that it was hurting a lot. Which he decided to basically to tell him, okay, finish cleaning the beach, which basically took Deku like a month or so. and then we are going to go see my master. Sorry, I had to pause for a bit. So like I was saying, All Might told Deku to finish cleaning the beach, then they would go see his master, Gran Torino. It takes Deku about a month. So after basically, All Might, sorry. Okay, yeah, so after All Might telling Deku to finish cleaning the beach, Deku basically started thinking of a way to actually use One for All. Because firstly, he noticed that after a while, his flames and his control over fire and heat basically became a lot more powerful. And he's able to kind of increase the size and strength of the flames a bit easier, as well as almost being able to simply increase the heat just naturally. What he's doing in reality is basically taking all of the heat when he's doing that from around and just kind of condensing it into a single point, which kind of increases it. But still, so everything around it basically becomes freaking cold. But yeah, so he was trying to find a way to just use One for All itself, which he kind of started thinking of, well, All Might told him about the same thing that he told Izuku in the original, which is think of a glass full. If you try to put more than what it can hold, um, the water goes overboard. Well, over the glass. So he has to stay in the same, to put the same power as what his body can hold. So put the same amount of water as the glass can hold. Not too much. Which he's been trying to think of it in a different way. Which is basically, he started charging his entire body at 100%. It hurted a lot, and he basically started thinking, divided by 2. So half the power. Too much again, divided by 2, 25% of the power. So right now he's not thinking in percentage, he's thinking in fractions, so half, quarter. Still too much? Okay, let's stop going that far and go 5 times lower instead. So, not a quarter, but 1/20th, which he's able to control, and it doesn't harm him. He basically finally learned to do that 2 days before going to Gran Torino's place, which he basically told All Might how he was thinking, with All Might telling him, don't think of it like that, think of it more as percentage, which he thought, okay, yeah, it's true that it would be easier to kind of think of it like that, so instead of saying 1/20th, it's just 5% that he starts saying, thinking. And he's kind of able to control it correctly. He's able to put it around his entire body because that's the only way he was thinking it could work. Not just put it in one single place for him to control it. Simply because he was thinking, even if I just put it in my arm, that much would be too much anyway. So around the entire body, and it's working. At Gran Torino's place, Gran Torino was impressed that after simply a month, with All Might as a teacher, he was able to actually learn that much, which all might ask him what that meant, and Gran Torino said that your way of thinking isn't that great when you explain stuff mostly. So for him to actually have learned that on its own, he was actually pretty good. So Gran Torino basically wanted to test him. Basically, he did the same test as he did in the original. This time, the difference is that Deku can use another quirk, which is fire, and he kind of uses it at his advantage, and basically is still unable to catch Gran Torino, but he does get him, at least. Like, he is able to punch him once. Basically the same way as in the original, which the punch didn't land, but the wave pressure did. So All Might was told by Gran Torino, okay, just keep training him, and to basically just kind of try and make him increase it over time for him to get stronger, which is basically what they did for the rest of the 10 months. At the end of the 10 months, Deku basically has the power to control 10%, which isn't powerful enough yet to control, to get Black Thunder, which I will use in this one. And it's going to be awesome. But one thing Deku basically, during the last 9 months, was that to go anywhere, he still need to, walk or jump there. Run or jump there. And he tried to think of a way to basically change that. And he was thinking, I'm able to control fire. Would I be able to just kind of stand on it? Ah, no, that would burn my feet. The only places I'm able to stand fire is my face and my throat and mouth, basically. So he's able to think like that he could try and fly or stuff. He's not able to for now. Well, at that point, but still thinking. Until around 1 or 2 weeks before the entrance exam. He finally thought of a way to do it. What if what I burn isn't myself? What if I put the fire on something and basically lift it up? If you're trying to find a way, where I could have taken that from, think of Ben 10. His alien, called Heat Blast, can fly normally by making fire come out of his feet and hand and just blasting off, or he can actually grab a piece of the ground and basically force the fire to kind of burn it up and then just fly with that. That's basically what Deku learned to do. And before having One For All, he would have been able to do that, but with a lot more strain. But thanks to One For All, he actually has an easy time with that. It still takes a lot of energy, but he's able to do it correctly. Which All Might sees him do it and is really impressed because now he doesn't just need to run or stuff like that. He can fly to anywhere that he is needed. Which is pretty good when you think about it. So, All Might tells him to train that, and he does for the last 2 weeks. Basically, instead of training One For All or his physical strength, he basically trained his fire and his control over it. So, at the entrance exam, um, basically Deku doesn't fall because he has a lot of confidence. Um, for the um, written part of the exam, he does pretty good. Reason is, well, he is Deku, he still um, learn a lot and basically study, so he gets a good part of it. Okay, so after that, the only other distraction when they're in the assembly with President Mike talking is Ida basically screaming at the top of his lung, "You forgot one of the robots!" Which was pretty dumb of him. Deku was annoyed, but didn't really do anything about it. So after that, they went in front of the cities. Yeah, sorry if that part isn't really detailed, but yeah, it's not really any big thing. It's basically just like in every other what if I have, or almost. So, um, basically, when President Mike says go, basically Deku just kind of spits out fire on the ground and just rip out a piece of it and just starts flying with that, which a lot of people basically see him and they're impressed by the way he does it. Ochako is impressed that someone is able to actually do something like that mostly, since her quirk allows her to defy gravity, but she's not able to control where it goes, while he's able to, well, she's not able to control it, but completely remove it, while Deku basically just took a piece of the ground with fire and is flying, and she was impressed by it. Um, Thanks to that, and basically thanks to the boost that he can put to the fire, he's actually faster than Ida, but barely. They're practically the same, it's only after a while that you can see that Deku is faster. So, yeah, he just takes piece, well, he spit out fire and basically burns the robots. It's not strong enough to melt metal easily, all yet, but he is at least able to melt the parts that aren't metallic, so rubbery part, and then whatever is inside of it. So he's capable of ending a lot of the robots, almost getting 100 points before the zero pointer is released, which the heroes that are looking, all the teachers, are basically thinking that this kid is pretty powerful. He's able to do all of that pretty well. He doesn't really show off One for All right now, but he still has it. And it will be shown in a bit. Because they decide that, okay, now it's time to release the zero pointer. Everyone sees the zero pointer coming. They escape. Deku goes to do the same just because. He doesn't need it. It doesn't give any points. Until he hears someone screaming, "Help!" He looks back and sees Ochako. After seeing her, he basically just thinks, I have to help. And basically starts using One for All, which does augment his flames a bit while using that, so he goes faster. Ochako sees the ball of flame just going over her, thinking, is he dumb? He's going to die. Sorry about that. And suddenly, Izuku isn't just going at 10% of one for all. He just went 100. And basically, just like in the anime, hit the head, breaking the entire thing apart, and he started falling. It was the first time for him that his arm was actually broken, simply because he never actually went at 100. Every time he used it to actually throw a punch, he was using only a small fraction of that. But now he went all out, and he's feeling it. He's not even able to actually make fire, well, to control the ball of dirt and fire that he made. He's basically just falling, but before touching the ground, Ochako came in and saved him. Basically the same way, a slap to the head, but he's not going to complain. He basically tells her thank you. She looks at his arm and she says that it's broken. Um, he's, is he okay? Which he says, yeah, he's going to be fine. Basically, he doesn't know about Recovery Girl yet, but, well, that she's there. But he's just thinking, yeah, I have my other arm, I can still control fire. I'm still going to be able to go at UA when they take me, because he's pretty sure by this point he destroyed the most robots, so it's kind of a given. Then Recovery Girl arrives, heals Ochako, and then heals Deku, which does make him a bit happier because he doesn't have to wait. And then both of them feel the wave of exhaustion. Then they basically tell each other their name, who they are, and then basically leaves it at that. And yeah, basically Deku gets the highest points and gets in UA. And this is going to be it for today. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. If you like the video, leave a like. I'm going to leave a link to my Discord in the description. Join if you want. Natsu, out.